Hey, and welcome to Truth, Health, and Wellness with Dr. Matt and Deborah St. John. We are excited about today's show. We are live again, so if you want to call in with any questions, there'll be a number on your screen shortly, or you can send them in live on Facebook, and we'll see if we can't get you an answer for them. So how are you guys doing this week, and what have you been seeing?
We're doing really good. We're still kind of tired, I think, from our trip. We're still getting over that, but it's been a really good week. We've been seeing a whole lot of different things. I think depression being on the top of the list.
It has been. I mean, we went to the Amazon for like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then we did our normal thing there.
Cuddling monkeys.
Yeah, and the cuddling monkeys and the playing with the sloth, that's the thing we like to show. But sometimes, what we don't like to show is where we're literally dripping sweat, and we're like tromping through the jungle, and there's coral snakes and whatnot, and so that a lot of the spiders that are this big, they're like, look over, and you're like, oh, by the way, it's poisonous. It's like, oh, really?
Yeah,
and it can jump too. Oh, a poisonous spider that can jump 2 inches away from you, great. But I mean, we spent 2 weeks out there, and it was wonderful, absolutely amazing. We love it. But then we get back, we're here a few days, we don't really get unpacked, and then the day that we unpack, we find out that it's spring break the next week. So we make plans with our kids to take them on spring break, and so we were there. That's what we've been doing for last week. And while it shouldn't be the case, I think vacations are actually the most tiring and exhausting thing that I do. And so, but we had a great trip, and the kids had a wonderful time. But we come back today, and I'm just packed with people. And so as we're going through the day, what I realized was that there were 2 different people that literally just got appointments with me to just talk to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about their health. And there's so much depression right now, so much anxiety. I mean, people are afraid of like a solar eclipse right now.
Yeah.
I mean, is it like Armageddon?
Yeah.
Is it Armageddon or is it the rapture? I mean, I don't know which one. But it's
We're going to find out.
Hey, I guess we'll know on what, the 6th, or is it
8th?
8th? Yeah, there we go. See, I'm out of the loop on this one. I have not hit this conspiracy theory worth a flip. But hey, I mean, if we're afraid, I mean, what does it tell us in the Bible? The whole end of the Bible is virtually saying, watch out for witchcraft, be careful about people who say they're prophets, and don't believe hardly anything that you hear. That's what it says pretty much throughout the entire New Testament. So now we have a herd of people who are believing everything that they hear, that believe that every other day is going to be the end of the earth. And you know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's looking up in the sky. It's like, Lord, I mean, that means people are depressed. If you're like, Lord, give me the vitality and the energy for me to do your will today and to do it well. I really want to do what on earth you have me here to do. That's not a depressed person.
Right.
But the person who's like, woe unto me, Lord, you've given me a little bit of energy for me to not be dead today, so please just take us all off the earth tomorrow. And that's depression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not a lot of optimism.
Yeah.
And even though, of course, they have beliefs and they believe they know where they're going, getting there sooner than they're supposed to is probably depressive. So our goal is to make people happy and productive while they're here on this earth so that they can do God's will. And so we've been working a lot today, especially with that. But that's been the biggest thing. I mean, there's a strain of COVID that's very similar to like a strep throat.
Okay.
A lot of people are dealing with this, and it's a long, little bout normally they have. But if they'll treat it, normally it's just 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
So the P77, the elderberry, the vitamin C, the vitamin D3.
It's kind of laryngitis-y too. It's
Yeah.
giving you like this
Hoarseness.
where your voice is literally just going out.
Oh, wow.
So that's been going around, but the P77 has been really good with it. And I know because one of our daughters we get her better, and then she goes to school, and then she comes back, and she's kind of regressing. It's like, listen, you've got to kick
Yeah.
this. For one thing, you're making me look really bad. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that. But she during the course of our trip, got fully better. So I'm like,
Yes.
listen, get you some mountain air. Get the right supplements and
Yeah.
take them regularly enough. And of course, she was better. So that's awesome.
Well, back when you mentioned the depression, what are some good things that you have that, help people that might help their, I don't want to say attitude exactly, but you get what I'm saying, their mentality to be a little more optimistic? Are there things that you have there?
There's several things, and one thing, it's called butterfly pea flower. And
That just sounds happy.
I know,
And
doesn't
it
it
looks
sound
happy. It's
beautiful?
blue, it's beautiful.
Beautiful. It's a little tincture that I just have prepared. We got
lid
it.
was
It's
hard to unscrew.
ready today, and it's really good for mood enhancement. It's good for mental.
Unless you're
stuff.
trying to unscrew the lid, it won't
Yeah,
come off.
the lid was really tight.
But all the butterflies would have flown out.
But if you take a few drops of it, it'll help increase your mood.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different reasons that people feel depressed. I mean, there's depression.
Yeah.
Mild to moderate depression. That's a common thing. That normally occurs when you've had, bouts of anxiety, which is really fear. So anxiety tends to be more of a fear-based issue, and fear creates the anxiety. The anxiety creates virtually most of the time it creates the depression. So it almost depends on the stage in
Gotcha.
which you're addressing something. We have a formula called Happy Now, and Tommy Bass had originally given me that formula, Tommy and Daryl, and it was a great formula, and for about 10, 15 years, that was the main go-to that we had. And it had St. John's wort, kava kava, what else did it have? Didn't have the theanine at the time. A couple of other ingredients. Then I had a pastor friend. I've told this story most likely on the show before, so I won't tell the story again. But I had a pastor friend basically tell me over and over again that the lobelia that we had put him on for his pulmonary health, for his issues with pneumonia and bronchitis, was actually helping him with his mood and with his fear and anxiety. So one day he called me. He was on the ceiling of his home, putting up Christmas decorations, and he said, guess where I am? And I said, where are you? And he said, well, I'm on the ceiling of my home putting up Christmas decorations. And I said, well, you're afraid of heights. He says, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm telling you, lobelia is the bomb. And I said, okay. So we added lobelia and L-theanine to the formula of the Happy Now, and it just became a home run. It's
Wow.
just amazing. And so we have all these testimonies. If you go to St. John's Nutrition on Google and look at the testimonies and type in Happy Now, you'll see a couple of testimonies from people who are actually suicidal. And while, obviously if you're suicidal, you need immediate help to get the right help immediately. And, the help is not a pill, obviously, but at the same time, it has helped tremendously people to get better, to think better. And so many of the new medicines that we're studying, especially down in Peru, have to do with being in full control of your mind, to be able to clarify things, to be able to hear things clearly, to be able to know things clearly, requires, a clear mind. And so a lot of people don't want a clear mind. That's the reason like the Delta 9, the Delta 8, and all the cannabis products are so popular right now. They're trying to numb the mind. And there are cases where numbing the mind might be of a benefit. You've had a loss in your family, you've had some sort of severe trauma. Numbing the mind's not a bad thing for a little while. But the problem is eventually you're left with what you have up here. And those thoughts can plague you forever. And so the thoughts that you're left with while you're at rest, while you're not entertained by this or
Right.
or whatever, then those are the people that need the most help, the people that can't stand to be alone with their thoughts. And so what we've learned through Banisteriopsis caapi, through chacruna, through the various types of entheogenic medicines is how much these can actually help people be in full control of their mind. And that's my goal. I want to be around a society of people who are in control of their minds, not out of control of
Right.
their minds, because that tends to be what we see when we're out on the road and why we have all these traffic accidents and why people are doing all these crazy and violent things. And so that's one of the big things for us right now is to really focus on the human mind and what we can do kind of to educate people and to maybe let them at least, like brain fog.
Yeah.
We have a product called Brain Fog. Well, it's the one that has the A1 steak sauce in it. Not really. It has tamarind in it.
I like it.
It's wonderful. Well, a young lady in town made a post that went viral, I think undoubtedly on one of the Aniston boards or Oxford boards, and she literally is like, this stuff has cured my this, that, and the other, and we're like, whoa. And she also put a beautiful picture of David, who one of the folks at St. John's, the volunteers there. He was holding hands with her, praying over her, with her out in the parking lot, and she took a picture of it. And it was his white hand and her African American hand holding hands, and then her with tears in her eyes. And she's like, You know, the Lord will take you to some really strange places, which I think is hilarious because we're a strange place. This is not a normal show. I mean, we're not normal people. I understand that. We say a lot of things that you don't hear anywhere else.
Right.
Because we go places and study things that other people don't want to go and don't want to study. So that's why you hear weird stuff from us. And so I thought it was adorable because she said, you know, sometimes you got to go to some the Lord will take you to some strange places.
Yeah.
But she was talking about our brain fog. And she was really going on about how much it had changed her life, and it was helping with her anxiety, and how it was helping with her focus and her mental clarity. And she was off all these different medications. She listed the medications. So as a result, of course, you can't keep brain fog in. And almost everyone who comes in, if they walk in and they've never been in before, it's like, "You here for brain fog? How'd you know?" Just brain fog.
Right.
Stuff works well. We can tell the future. But it's just so awesome because these are testimonies.
Right.
We didn't make it up. We didn't hire her.
Right.
We didn't give her money to make that post, especially the beautiful little pictures of the hands. I did take that picture and made another post about it because it was so special to me because of my testimony about how I got into natural medicine.
Yeah.
It started with a kid from an all-white school going to an all-black church.
Yeah.
That's how the whole thing started. And you can sympathize with that because you've been to some of those Baptist type churches and some of those party churches that things get done. I mean, you spend from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. in a full gospel church. Let me tell you what, you're either going to run away a lot earlier than 1 a.m. or you're going to be changed by 1 a.m.
Right.
And so I was changed. But anyway.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump into some questions we've had from the viewers in the past. What's the difference in foods labeled non-GMO and foods labeled organic? Which should I trust?
Neither. I'm just kidding. You should trust no one ever. No, but honestly, non-GMO simply means it does not have any genetically modified organism, doesn't have any genetically modified ingredients, which just literally means they haven't modified it genetically. It doesn't mean anything about organic. Organic means it's pesticide and herbicide free. It's been grown to certain standards. Now, we like to look for that USDA organic label. Now, not that I believe in or support basically any government agency being anything other than a scam, but the deal with USDA organic means that they've gone to such incredible lengths to get that certification that normally they're not lying. And sometimes they do. Sometimes it's confusing because you'll see the word organic all over the thing, all over the packaging, and yet it never says, you never see that USDA certified organic seal. It'll even say organic corn, made with organic corn. Down here it'll say Organic Horizon is the name of the company, but down here there's no label. Well, what it amounts to is they're throwing you. They just use the word organic in their name. They can legally do that and not be organic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they can do like Organic Harvest, or there's one that sells to Walmart, Organic Valley or something like that. Then not all their products are organic. So organic means that you haven't been, it hasn't been treated with pesticides or herbicides. One of the problems is that is it 3 years? After 3 years of a crop that's used all the pesticides and herbicides they could possibly shovel onto the crop, 3 years after that last crop is grown, you can plant an organic crop, and it can be sold as organic.
In that same soil?
In the same soil.
As long as you wait 3 years.
Yeah, but it's not gone. The glyphosate's
not going away.
gone. The atrazine's not gone. The pesticides aren't gone. So buyer beware. Get a company that you trust. We actually go online, and for example, there's one brand of orange juice in this entire country that you can consistently buy that is pesticide and herbicide free. But does it even label itself as organic?
It does, and it also has a little emblem that says glyphosate residue free.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's called Uncle Matt's. We're not related, but it's Uncle Matt's orange juice, and they're the only ones that are pesticide and herbicide free. That are also, but it's organic. But you can find other orange juice that says that it's organic that'll actually have glyphosate.
Wow.
Yet it's supposedly organic.
Wow.
MomsAcrossAmerica.com is a website that does a lot of independent testing. I mean, that's actually how I found out about this orange juice, is because they'll list every food that is glyphosate residue free that has actually gone through and been tested and certified. And they'll make a list of it.
But yet you'll go to like the 365 brand at Whole Foods Grocery, and they fail almost every test when it comes to pesticides and herbicides. They're awful. Whole Foods Grocery is a complete sham. They're not healthy. The majority of what they have is actually unhealthy, and the rest is they're just lying about. And then they have a few healthy things just to sort of make you think that the rest of it's healthy. But their private label is horrendous.
Wow.
It's like, you go to their cereal section, and every time we ever go to their cereal section, they have like a 6-box front of Honey Nut Cheerios. which have more glyphosate parts per billion than any other food product sold in any grocery store. It's like, why are you intentionally trying to poison people at Whole Foods Grocery?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I realize that to go to Whole Foods Grocery, you have to have tights or pants, and your hair up. Yeah, including, and even if you're a guy, you still have to have a bun, right? But it's not healthy food.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. So if you want to wear tights or pants and have your man buns, go somewhere else.
Well, another problem too, though, is that farms, you'll have an organic farm and a non-organic farm very close to each other,
Yeah.
but the spray travels.
3 miles.
So you can't, make sure that spray isn't getting on your organic crops
Within like a certain
when
radius
you're
or
within
something
3
like
miles
that.
of it.
But it
yeah.
often does.
Wow. Well, let's jump to another one then. How do I know if I have parasites? Besides going to one of the creeks around here, probably. But
Well, you do. How do you know that you have parasites? Well, you do, or you did, or you will. So it's interesting with parasites. There are so many different types. We had our T. gondii episode a few episodes ago, and that one's like so creepy that it makes people concerned. But I mean, 60% of the entire country and
Yeah.
the entire world has the cyst of T. gondii in their brain,
Yeah.
alive right now. Think about it, 60%. So over half the viewers listening to us right now, you got cyst in your brain, and there's little parasites in those cysts ready, and they're actually guiding your thoughts right now to some degree, which is really creepy because all the clinical studies show that in the cyst stage, they still guide human behavior.
Yeah.
Isn't that scary? So, and then of course, if they're at the infection stage, a lot of times they think you have multiple sclerosis or some sort of horrible brain issue or a neurological issue, and you really just have parasites. Then, of course, you have tapeworms, you have pinworms, you have all the different types of
Flukes
parasites,
and-
flukes, and all of these types. And of course, some people consider viruses parasites because they're very similar to a parasite. The issue is that most people have parasites. The cool thing is that there's 3 plants that consistently eradicate parasites throughout the body, and one is Artemisia or wormwood is what they call it. Wormwood, that makes sense. The other are cloves, my wife's favorite herb.
No.
We spilled some essential oil of cloves in the van, and I like cloves, but she hates it. And to me, it just smells like Christmas.
it's rough.
And so by the time we had to smell the clove oil in our camper van for like two weeks, then we made a parasite formula that we took with us down to the Amazon. So we're down in the Amazon, and I'm like, and the first day we're there, I'm like, there's something going down here. We need to take our stuff. And she's like, so she takes it. She's like squirming and whining and complaining and did everything you could not to take it. And then I took it, and I'm like, I'm fine. It just tastes like Christmas. By the time we were out of Iquitos, let me tell you, she was taking it on a regular basis because it was the only thing keeping us alive. It was
Yeah,
better
I
than
didn't like it though.
it was better than having to take
Well, it was certainly better than
taking quinine. Yeah.
getting,
Ugh.
malaria or something.
Or getting malaria, which she's had before. So the parasite formulas are very good, but black walnut is the other one. So there's cloves, wormwood, and black walnut. And basically you just take an equal parts combination of those 3, which it's actually green walnut hulls that they call black walnut, that they use the green walnut hulls and that you tincture them, soak them in alcohol. The alcohol gets all the extract of the constituents out of those 3 plants, and then you consume the tinctured, residue, and it works to get rid of parasites. And you can literally half the time feel it working. It's almost
Immediately?
scary. Almost immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll feel like a little war waging down in your gut sometimes. It's almost a little spooky. But once again, we're going places where we know we're getting parasites while we're there. So I mean, it's not like everyone would feel the same exact thing. But it's amazing how well just those 3 plants can work together to and there are all kind of other parasites. Technically, you remember ivermectin?
Yeah.
Everyone's heard of ivermectin. We're part of the Concerned Doctors group, and they wouldn't shut up about it until finally they were coming to us through the back door to get P77 because the ivermectin wasn't working. They're toward the end for like the which strain was it? Omicron. The Omicron it wasn't working for. Anyway, so but basically ivermectin is a probiotic from the dirt that a Japanese scientist found. So a Japanese research scientist did a soil sample, found basically ivermectin in dirt, which is a probiotic, and it's an antiparasitic. So ivermectin is just an antiparasitic. What's interesting is how every single antiparasitic that was used against COVID-19 was effective. Everyone at Wormwood or Artemisia, that's all that the entire country of Madagascar used. They only had 1.1% of their entire population, 27 million people. Out of that 27 million people, only 1% was even vaccinated, yet they eradicated COVID-19 with it. There's 9 million people, only 9 million people in Israel, and every one of them were vaccinated. It says actually 101%, which means I guess people are lining up to get multiple shots. So 101% of Israel was vaccinated, yet they still have multiple strains of COVID, and people are dying from COVID today in Israel. So it's, they didn't eradicate it. So the country that didn't use it, didn't do the vaccines, eradicated it with something very natural. So it's exciting to see that the power of these anti-parasitic formulas, and there are a lot of people, and a lot of people in natural medicine that believe, and other forms of medicine, that believe that many, if not sometimes all forms of cancer begin with parasites.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't believe all forms of cancer begin with parasites, but I do believe that that a lot do, a whole lot. And I believe that there's probably some relationship between parasites and like evil spiritual activity. That's another story for another day.
But if you don't have parasites, it won't hurt you to take the parasite formula.
Right.
Go ahead and just cleanse. I mean, it's good for you. It's not going to hurt, and you'll feel better afterwards.
Yeah, even your pride's not hurt by having to have cloves, if you had cloves.
Exactly.
And now, how does that work though with the parasite formula? You take it once a day or 3 times a day, or
It depends on whether or not you really feel like
you have them or not.
Yeah, you have
Okay.
parasites, and if you do, normally no more intensive doses would be recommended than just maybe once a day. But a lot of people will take a anti-parasitic formula just every few months.
Okay.
And they'll do like a 1 month run.
Okay.
Like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump to another one. What does it mean when I hear people say that we should eat lean meats?
Okay. A piece of grilled chicken breast, right, with no skin, lean meat. A can of Vienna sausage, not lean meat. That's fatty meat. That's actually highly processed, terrible meat. The kind of meat, when we talk about eating lean meats, that's something I say, make sure you can get plenty of lean meat, lean chicken, lean beef. We need beef because we need the creatine in the beef. We don't need a lot of beef, but we need some beef. And so consuming beef will give us more creatine and give us more of our balanced amino acids, but meats, takes a long time to digest. And if you eat brisket versus a filet mignon, then it's going to take longer to digest the brisket.
And brisket's less lean.
And
filet mignons.
Yeah, filet mignon's a very lean cut of beef, and brisket is a fatty cut of beef. It's a matter of, and there are a lot of people that are arguing these days with me. They're into the carnivore diet, and I've got friends, I've got pastors who are on the carnivore diet. I mean, yeah, you're going to lose weight on the carnivore diet. The problem is that the carnivore diet doesn't warn against processed meats. And when I say processed meats, I'm not talking about a little bit of salt to cure the meat. I'm talking about using chemicals and nitrates and all these additives to make meat preserved so that it can be sold longer. That's not of God.
Right.
That's not healthy. That's not anything that's going to cause your body anything but grief. And so the processing eventually leads to, I believe, everything from cancer to autoimmune disorders and of course eventually
Gout.
Definitely gout and uric acid, out the wazoo and everything else. And so I believe in a 40-40-20 split. You keep your carbs and your protein the same. You keep them around 40% of your daily intake of calories, and your fat's normally around 20%. And if people will do that, they'll feel better. They'll be able to control their weight a lot easier, and they can decrease their meat consumption if they're, for example, wanting to cleanse, if they're wanting to detoxify, or they can increase their meat consumption if they're wanting to lose a little bit of weight before they go to the beach this summer. You can control that, but to do these radical diets, everything for somebody in the United States, it's like, oh, I need to lose weight. I need to get on steroids and take Ozempic. What? No, you don't. You just need to, tidy up your diet and start going to the gym a little bit. I knew a guy one time, and he literally, if he got a gym membership, he was having to buy steroids. Illegal steroids. I'm like, the two aren't synonymous. You can do one without the other. You can eat right, but my poor brother was traumatized. He literally, my brother, I can't even say what he really said, but my brother literally said, "There's no way I'm ever going to work out." And I'm like, "Why?" Because he actually walked in on some of his friends taking steroids,
Oh my goodness.
doing the injections, and so he's like, if that's what working out's all about, then I don't want it. I swear he will not work out to this day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's probably better health than all those people that he knew back then that worked out all the time.
That's
so
true.
Congrats, Adam. But anyway, it's funny. I wish I could say what he really said.
Well, let's go ahead and jump to another one then. I recently heard on TV that there's a possibility that cell phones and cell headphones can possibly cause brain cancer. That doesn't sound possible. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, let's see. We take something that produces known EMFs, which we know to be unsafe to the body, right? You don't need to have our cell phones over here. You can almost see it. So you can see our cell phone over here. Well, if a router is over here and my cell phone's over here, then I'm putting myself right between that router and the cell phone,
Yeah.
and that is not a healthy thing. You do not need your cell phones on at night in your room. You should put it on airplane mode. Keep a phone, in the room beside you or something where you can hear it if in an emergency, but you do not need cell phones on next to your head. Or I see people sleeping with their cell phones. They wake up and it's like, oh, I'm laying on my phone. They're not drooled on my cell phone. No.
Under their pillows.
Yeah, no, you're trying to get cancer at that point. I believe that there's going to be an influx of people having various forms of cancer, even like things in their ear canals and problems with their equilibrium and problems with vertigo and all these different things because of all this mess that they're sticking in their ears. And we're all guilty of it. All of us parents who are like letting our kids get AirPods and all these different things, we're all guilty for it. We need to look more into it, I believe. But the main thing is this. Know where your routers are in your house and know where your phones are and your devices are in the house, and don't be between the two of them. Just think of it as, just visualize these signals going straight through you, and know that anytime they've done the test, when it comes to plant growth, when it comes to mold growth, the fact is those EMFs make mold grow faster.
Wow.
They make tissue repair slower, and they inhibit proper proliferation of cell reproduction.
Plants won't grow
Yeah.
in between a cell phone and a router.
So
A plant will die.
So do we need to be between
Yeah.
those? And so we're trying ourselves to be more conscientious about the whole thing. But once again, the Mennonites have it right. Every time we go see the Mennonites, we walk in and they'll look down and be like, "Oh, I see you still have the smartphone, huh? Those aren't very smart." I'm like,
Oh,
"I
wow.
know, quit, Mortimer, quit preaching to me." But it's true. It really is. They have it right. The technology that we're using today and becoming so dependent on, between our eyes and the blue light, between our brains and between our bodies, there's just so much that people are doing to themselves adversely. I met the first man in the state of Alabama, actually, I'm sorry, the state of Florida, but he was one of the first men to ever be diagnosed with cell phone-related breast cancer. He was a law enforcement officer. He had a job. He was out on the streets. He got a better job, supposedly, at a desk job within the jail. So his office was in the jail, which meant it was in this block building, which meant that when he put his little cell phone in his pocket of his uniform, it was roaming the entire time. He never had a signal, but it was sitting there roaming the entire time. He developed a mass in his chest right where the cell phone was. The doctor said, "Well, this is from the cell phone," and wrote it down in the report. Thankfully for him, because it was the first successful lawsuit against a cell phone company about the cell phone EMFs. But they settled with him and swept it under the rug because they don't want that kind of.
Wow.
So be very careful, especially if your phone's roaming. Also, when you're first getting a call, put it on speakerphone. Don't put it up to your ear, because when you're first getting that call, that's the most radiation that your phone puts out, and the most EMFs that it's putting out is when it's about to get a signal and when it's getting a signal. So put it on speakerphone until you get the connection. Once you get the connection, then put it up if you have to. It's better to use Bluetooth anyway, as long as it's not in your ear.
That's what I was going to say. What about
Your best to just move away, get a cabin. Don't use cell phones.
tin cans with a string?
Maybe walkie-talkies.
We only have roughly about a minute left. Do we even try for this one? I have really quick, 30 seconds. I have such a problem of gaining then losing weight. What can I do to help regulate myself to a steady weight?
It's all about meal frequency. It's about getting enough protein. It's about taking your exercise and making sure that you're exercising in a way that's not shocking your body to the point where you're burning more calories than you're actually taking in. In other words, you want to build muscle. You don't want to just keep burning off everything. So you need the protein to build the muscle, and you need resistance exercise to build the muscle, which means weights, cables. Go to the gym. I won't recommend any particular gym, but go to preferably one that's locally owned, and get somebody to help you, because trust me, especially in this area, there are more people that have gyms that know about nutrition and wellness and how to gain weight than people with lab coats.
Good job.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank everyone out there for joining us again today. If you do have questions, send them into St. John's Nutrition. And we want to say Happy Easter to everyone. Have a great night.